In the quiet, tree-lined streets of Cottonwood Heights, Utah, a shocking tragedy was unfolding behind closed doors. Jennifer Gledhill, a 42-year-old mother of three, once seen as composed and caring, is now at the center of a chilling true crime case that has gripped the state and raised unsettling questions about trust, betrayal, and justice. Her husband, 51-year-old Matthew Johnson, was not just any man. He was a U.S. Marine and Utah National Guardsman, a devoted father, and a community member known for his steadfast reliability. Together they shared a home, a pending divorce, and three young children, all under 13. Their once ordinary life was shattered in late September 2024. As of now, Johnson's body has never been found, yet Gledhill has been charged with 9 felonies, including first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. The consequences that ripple outward from this case are vast, legal, emotional, and moral. This is the story of how one family's unraveling led to a crime so disturbing, and how the ramifications are still being felt. In the days before the alleged crime, tensions were high. On September 18, 2024, just 3 days before what prosecutors allege was the murder, Jennifer sent a text to her father requesting $13,000. Her father responded, sending $1,000 via Venmo, though the reason for the request remains unclear. On September 20, the couple had an argument, reportedly after Matthew discovered Jennifer's extramarital affair. What happened next remains a matter of prosecution claims and Jennifer's denials. According to court documents and a cooperating informant, an unnamed lover, Jennifer allegedly returned to that informant just before midnight on September 22. She was visibly distraught. There, she allegedly confessed to shooting Matthew in the head while he slept, placing his body in a rooftop cargo container, transporting it in her minivan, and burying him in a shallow grave north of their home. That same confession was recorded by the informant and later passed to authorities, a chilling turning point in the case. Matthew was then reported missing on September 28, 8 days after his alleged death. Gledhill claimed he'd left following the argument. But investigators say surveillance footage, GPS data, and incriminating conversations tell a different story. This sequence of events marks a disturbing shift from marital discord to a crime scene and the disappearance of a man who once seemed unassailable. When Matthew Johnson, a 51-year-old Marine and National Guardsman, failed to show up for duty, concern spread quickly. He was not the type of man to disappear without explanation. Punctual, disciplined, and deeply committed to his service, Matthew's absence sounded alarm bells among his colleagues. Within days, investigators were called to look into what at first appeared to be a simple missing person case. But the closer they looked, the clearer it became: nothing about this case was simple. Detectives arrived at the Cottonwood Heights home on September 28, 2024, after Jennifer Gledhill reported her husband missing. She told officers that Matthew had walked out following an argument and had not returned. Her voice was calm, but her story raised quiet doubts. Missing adults were not unusual, but in this case, every detail of her account felt rehearsed, as though she were reading from a prepared script. One detective later recalled that Jennifer did not seem frantic, panicked, or even emotional. She explained that the couple had argued over her extramarital affair, and Matthew had simply left. Yet when asked why she had waited more than a week to report him missing, her answers were vague. Investigators made a note of it: her timeline didn't add up. At first, officers treated the case cautiously. Perhaps Matthew had left to clear his head. Perhaps he had needed time away from the chaos of a collapsing marriage. But there were troubling signs that this was no ordinary disappearance. When investigators entered the Johnson-Gledhill residence, they found what seemed like an ordinary suburban house. But detectives are trained to notice details most people overlook. In the master bedroom, something immediately caught their eye: a brand new mattress sat on the bed frame. Neighbors confirmed that just days earlier, the family had gotten rid of their old mattress. To police, this was suspicious. Replacing a mattress might be innocent, but in the context of a missing spouse, it felt deliberate. Why replace a mattress so suddenly? What was wrong with the old one? When technicians used luminol, the chemical glow revealed what Jennifer hoped no one would find: stains of human blood beneath the carpet by the bed. Later lab results confirmed that the blood belonged to a male, consistent with Matthew's DNA. Even more telling were the walls behind the bed. Large patches had been scrubbed down with bleach. Investigators noted uneven discoloration and the distinct chemical smell that lingered in the air. Jennifer had tried to erase something. The search expanded. In the basement and along the staircase, they found similar bleach marks. It was clear someone had attempted a large-scale cleanup. Modern investigations rely on more than what the eye can see. Detectives turned to Jennifer's phone and vehicle GPS records. What they discovered painted a troubling picture. On the nights following Matthew's disappearance, Jennifer's phone had pinged towers far north of Cottonwood Heights, locations inconsistent with her story. Investigators suspected she had driven there to dispose of Matthew's body. These movements aligned with claims later made by an informant who would become central to the case. Her minivan also told its own story. Data from onboard systems showed unusual late-night travel, stops along isolated roads, and mileage that didn't match her routine patterns. It was as though the vehicle itself had become a silent witness, tracking every. Financial records added yet another layer. Just days before Matthew was last seen alive, Jennifer had requested a large sum of money, $13,000, from her father. Though only $1,000 was transferred, the urgency of the request raised questions. Was it connected to her alleged plan? Investigators couldn't ignore the timing. Neighbors played a key role in unraveling the mystery. Several recalled seeing Jennifer's parents, Thomas and Rosalie, at the house late at night in the days after Matthew's disappearance. One remembered their car parked outside for hours. Another recalled seeing them carrying cleaning supplies into the home. When questioned, the Gledhills downplayed their visits, insisting they had been at the home only briefly. But neighbors' testimonies contradicted their statements. Detectives began to suspect that Jennifer had helped, perhaps not in the killing itself, but in the cover-up that followed. Friends of the family also noted unusual behavior. Some described Jennifer as distant, oddly composed, even cold, in the days after Matthew vanished. Instead of expressing worry, she spoke casually about legal matters, finances, and her children's schedules. The absence of visible grief struck those who knew her well. The most damning evidence, however, did not come from a forensic test or a digital record. It came from a person, Jennifer's secret lover. In the days after Matthew's disappearance, Jennifer confided in this lover. Distraught but candid, she allegedly revealed that she had shot Matthew while he slept, placed his body in a rooftop cargo box, and buried him in a shallow grave. What Jennifer didn't know was that her lover had grown frightened by her words and had decided to cooperate with police. With investigators' guidance, the lover recorded their phone calls. The recordings were chilling. In one conversation, Jennifer explained that Matthew wasn't a person anymore, he wasn't Matt. In another, she likened herself to the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, saying, "Off with their heads." These bizarre, almost taunting statements gave prosecutors powerful ammunition. For detectives, the recordings were the breakthrough they had been waiting for. Combined with forensic evidence, digital footprints, and witness testimony, they transformed the case from a missing person mystery into a homicide investigation. By early 2025, what began as whispers of suspicion had hardened into formal charges. Prosecutors in Salt Lake County announced a sweeping case against Jennifer Gledhill: first-degree murder, multiple counts of obstruction of justice, abuse of a human body, witness tampering, and drug offenses. In all, 9 felonies. With every new court filing, the weight of the evidence pressed heavier. The centerpiece of the prosecution's case was the recorded phone calls between Jennifer and her lover. In one, her voice carried a detached calm as she confessed that Matthew wasn't a person anymore, he wasn't Matt. In another, she laughed darkly, comparing herself to the Queen of Hearts, "Off with their heads." To prosecutors, these weren't just slips of the tongue, they were windows into a mindset capable of murder. Next came the forensic evidence. Investigators described the brand new mattress, the bleach-scrubbed bedroom walls, and the glowing traces of blood beneath the carpet. Lab analysis confirmed the blood was male, and while the body had not been found, prosecutors argued the physical evidence pointed unmistakably to Matthew's violent death in his own home. Then came the digital trail. GPS data placed Jennifer's phone in remote northern Utah at night, aligning with the alleged burial site her lover described.
Her minivan's mileage and travel logs matched the times prosecutors believe she transported Matthew's body. Adding to the puzzle were the statements from neighbors and friends. They recalled Jennifer's parents arriving with cleaning supplies, lingering at the house, and acting evasively about their visits. Witnesses described Jennifer herself as oddly detached in the days following Matthew's disappearance, showing little emotion and even discussing financial matters instead of her missing husband. But the defense was far from silent. Jennifer's attorneys emphasized one glaring fact: no body had been recovered. They argued that without Matthew's remains, there could be no definitive proof of death. They also questioned the reliability of the lover's testimony, pointing out the possibility of personal motives, manipulation, or misinterpretation of Jennifer's words. Could those chilling phone calls have been taken out of context? Could grief, anger, or sarcasm have been mistaken for confession? The trial was scheduled for December 2025, and with it, the stage was set for a high-stakes courtroom drama. The prosecution carried mountains of circumstantial evidence, chilling recordings, and forensic science. The defense clung to the hope that reasonable doubt and the absence of a body might save their client from a murder conviction. Outside the courtroom, the ripples of Jennifer Gledhill's case spread wide and deep. For Matthew Johnson's family, the pain of not knowing where his body lies has been unbearable. His brothers-in-arms in the Utah National Guard organized search parties, vowing to bring him home. Their motto was simple: no soldier left behind. Yet, as months passed, the search dragged on without success. For the Gledhill's 3 young children, the impact was even more devastating. They lost not only their father, but also the presence of their mother, now behind bars awaiting trial. Custody disputes ensued, and relatives stepped in to provide care. The children's lives, once anchored in an ordinary suburban household, became a storm of grief, uncertainty, and court proceedings. The legal consequences extended beyond the family. Matthew had held a $500,000 life insurance policy. With Jennifer still listed as the beneficiary, the insurer asked a judge for guidance. Could the money go to her if she stood accused of his murder? Or should it be redirected to the children, or held until a verdict was reached? The courtroom battles over finances added another painful layer to an already tragic saga. Meanwhile, the Cottonwood Heights community was left shaken. Neighbors who once waved at the Gledhill's home now walked past with unease. Parents whispered to each other at school pickup lines, wondering how a marriage they thought was stable could unravel into murder. True crime enthusiasts across the nation followed the headlines, shocked that a suburban mother could be accused of such a crime. As the trial approaches, the case remains a symbol of deeper questions. Can justice be fully served without a body? Should circumstantial evidence be enough to convict? And what becomes of a family, a community, when trust is shattered from within?